The snow may be gone in Flagstaff, but inside the Brown family, the freeze has turned into a full-blown emotional lockdown. This time, the drama didn't unfold through leaked texts or awkward holiday dinners. It unfolded quietly, brutally, on a commercial flight that left Salt Lake City with a first-class seat sitting completely empty. Sources close to the situation claim Kody Brown had arranged a luxury flight for Truly to come and spend the summer at Coyote Pass. Publicly, it was framed as a father wanting quality time. Privately, it was something far more calculated. What was sold as a loving reunion was, in reality, a carefully timed production move, a made-for-camera reset designed to rescue a dying storyline. But the plan collapsed before the wheels even left the runway. This wasn't a teenage mistake. She didn't oversleep. She didn't change her mind last minute. According to insiders, the ticket itself was formally sent back, not ignored, returned. A silent but unmistakable message that shut down the entire summer narrative in one move. This wasn't about canceling a visit. This was about drawing a line. For years, Truly existed on the margins of her father's attention. Now, with David Woolley firmly present in her daily life, the balance of power has shifted, and Kody no longer gets to decide how this relationship looks. The timing exposes everything. Summer is approaching, and filming is about to ramp up. The uncomfortable truth is that Sister Wives is running out of emotional fuel. With 3 wives gone, the heart of the show has faded. Long monologues about loyalty and betrayal aren't pulling audiences the way they used to. Insiders suggest producers have been pushing hard. Kody needs footage that proves he's still relevant. He needs scenes that show him as a hands-on father, laughing, bonding, creating moments that can be edited into something that looks like redemption. This wasn't a spontaneous invitation. It was a filming block disguised as parenting, and Kody assumed money would seal the deal. A first-class seat, priority treatment. The signal was clear. Look how valued you are. But Truly isn't a child anymore. She's a teenager who spent the past year in a home built on consistency, safety, and genuine affection. She knows the difference between being wanted and being used. The entire offer rested on a fiction. Kody claims there's room for her, that he's built a place where his children are welcome, but viewers have seen enough to question that. The issue isn't square footage, it's emotional space. Rumors suggest she'd be squeezed into temporary arrangements while others enjoy permanent comfort. For a teenager with a stable life elsewhere, the choice wasn't difficult. What Kody never considered was that Truly would choose herself. And then there's the financial pressure behind all of this. Why now? Why the sudden urgency after months of silence? Missed birthdays, missed milestones. According to multiple reports, the push didn't come from fatherly instinct, it came from production. Those private calls Kody labels business meetings are allegedly blunt conversations warning him that without the original children, the show has nowhere left to go. That ticket wasn't an act of love, it was a line item. Which brings us to David Woolley. Truly has watched a man show up without needing applause, a man who treats her mother with respect, a man who invests time without expecting a storyline in return. When Kody sent that ticket, he wasn't competing with Christine, he was competing with the reality of a calm, functioning home, and that's a competition he couldn't win. The way this refusal played out only made it worse. The ticket wasn't ignored, it was returned deliberately. No shouting, no public drama, just a clear, controlled rejection that left no room for negotiation. That's why Kody is furious, because control is gone. For years, he treated the family like a business, with himself as the authority figure. But you can't manage a child who has already stepped away. Now he's telling anyone who will listen that this is manipulation, that Christine is interfering, that David is crossing lines. The reality is much harsher. Truly has watched the show. She's heard the words. She knows who showed up and who didn't. You don't publicly humiliate a child's mother and then expect an easy reunion. Behind the scenes, production plans reportedly unraveled fast. Crews were scheduled, moments were imagined. Cody had already pictured his redemption scene. When that seat stayed empty, it wasn't sadness that followed, it was embarrassment. And let's be honest about the environment she was expected to return to. The tension inside that Flagstaff house is visible even through edited television. Strict rules, emotional pressure, a constant expectation of loyalty. Truly values her independence. In Utah, she has it. In Flagstaff, she wouldn't. The first-class ticket didn't signal love, it exposed distance. Cody still believes status can replace effort, but children don't remember upgrades. They remember who showed up consistently. Now the consequences are rolling in. Without a reconciliation arc, the cameras have only one direction left to turn: Cody's reaction, his anger, his spirals, his attempts to rewrite the narrative. In trying to manufacture a moment, he's ensured the show captures his collapse instead. And somewhere else, far from the noise, Truly is living her life quietly. No scripts, no microphones, no pressure. That empty seat wasn't just a missed flight, it was a boundary, a decision, a teenager choosing peace over performance. And that choice has already changed the entire game. This time, the drama didn't erupt in messages, phone calls, or uncomfortable family meetups. It unfolded quietly, in the most humiliating way possible, through a first-class airline seat that took off completely empty. According to insider chatter, Cody Brown had arranged an expensive flight for Truly to spend the summer at Coyote Pass. On paper, it looked like a father making an effort. In reality, it was far more strategic. What was presented as a heartfelt invitation was allegedly the first step in a camera-ready redemption plan, timed perfectly with the start of filming season. But the plan failed instantly. This wasn't a missed flight or teenage forgetfulness. Reports suggest the ticket itself was deliberately returned, sent back in a way that made the message impossible to ignore. No argument, no negotiation, just a firm refusal that shattered the entire summer narrative Cody thought he was about to film. This wasn't just a canceled visit, it was a statement. For years, Truly lived on the edge of her father's priorities. Now, with David Woolley playing an active role in her daily life, the balance of power has shifted, and for the first time, Cody is no longer the one calling the shots. The timing couldn't be more revealing. Summer is approaching and production is gearing up. The harsh truth is that Sister Wives is running low on emotional substance. With most of the original wives gone, the show has lost its core. Long speeches about loyalty and betrayal aren't enough to hold viewers anymore. Sources claim production pressure has been intense. Cody needs scenes that prove relevance. He needs footage that shows him as an involved, caring father. Laughter, bonding, moments that can be edited into something resembling redemption. This wasn't a spontaneous offer. It was a filming opportunity disguised as family time, and Cody believed money would make it work. A first-class seat, special treatment, a silent promise of importance. But Truly isn't a little girl anymore. She's a teenager who has spent the last year in a home built on stability, consistency, and genuine care. She understands the difference between real connection and performance. The invitation itself was built on a fragile claim. Cody insists he has room for her, that his home is ready, but viewers have seen enough to question that story. The problem isn't space, it's belonging. Rumors suggest she would be placed wherever room could be made, while others enjoy permanent comfort. For a teenager with a peaceful life elsewhere, the choice was clear. What Cody didn't anticipate was that Truly would choose herself, and that single decision has already sent shockwaves through everything he thought he controlled.
The question everyone keeps asking is simple. Why now? Why, after months of silence, missed birthdays, and forgotten milestones, did Cody suddenly develop an urgent need for a summer reunion? The answer, according to insiders, has nothing to do with fatherhood and everything to do with filming. Production season is closing in fast, and the reality facing Cody Brown is brutal. The show is bleeding relevance. 3 wives are gone, and with them went most of the emotional weight that once kept viewers invested. Watching Cody and Robyn sit in their house complaining about loyalty isn't enough to carry an entire season. Behind the scenes, sources say the pressure on Cody has been relentless. Producers want proof that he still has access to the original family. They want visuals that suggest he's present, involved, and connected. They want shots of truly laughing on the land, sharing meals, creating moments that can be cut into something that looks like healing. Without those scenes, there is no redemption arc to sell, so Cody built a plan. This wasn't a casual invitation, it was a structured schedule disguised as a summer visit. Activities were allegedly mapped out, scenes were imagined. He believed that presenting the experience as special, even luxurious, would make refusal impossible. In his mind, the first-class ticket wasn't just travel, it was leverage. What he failed to understand is that Truly no longer measures love in gestures or upgrades. She spent the last year in a home where attention isn't conditional and affection doesn't come with cameras attached. She knows when she's being invited as a daughter and when she's being recruited as content. There's also the reality of where she was being asked to go. Cody insists there's a place for her at his home, but the version of that house viewers have seen tells a different story. This isn't about square footage, it's about atmosphere. Rumors suggest the house is crowded, tense, and emotionally restrictive, a space where rules matter more than comfort, and loyalty is constantly monitored. For a teenager who has found peace, structure, and freedom elsewhere, the contrast couldn't be clearer. Leaving a stable life in Utah for a house charged with resentment and pressure simply didn't make sense. Cody believed his authority would be enough, that his role alone guaranteed compliance. But Truly looked at the situation and chose calm over chaos, reality over performance. That decision didn't just disrupt plans, it exposed a truth Cody has spent years avoiding. He no longer controls the narrative, and without control, everything he built this summer around filming and image began to unravel.
This is where David Woolley becomes impossible to ignore. While Cody was planning scenes and schedules, Truly was watching something far more powerful in real time. She was watching a man show up without an audience, no microphones, no crew, no need to prove anything, just consistency. David didn't arrive with grand gestures or promises. He arrived with presence. He treated Christine with respect. He engaged with the children because he wanted to, not because it would play well on television. And for a teenager who has spent her life watching love perform for the camera, that difference matters more than anyone wants to admit. When the ticket was sent, Cody wasn't competing with Christine's influence. He was competing with a functioning home, with dinners that weren't tense, with conversations that weren't monitored, with a life that didn't revolve around loyalty tests or emotional landmines. And that's a competition he was never prepared for. The way the refusal happened only deepened the wound. The ticket wasn't ignored or quietly set aside, it was formally returned. Calm, controlled, final. No emotional explosion, no dramatic confrontation, just a message that said everything without raising its voice. That silence hit harder than any argument ever could. That's why Cody is spiraling. For years, he operated like the head of a corporation, believing authority guaranteed obedience. In his world, relationships functioned on hierarchy, but you can't discipline someone who has already stepped away. You can't reclaim control once it's been surrendered. And Truly didn't walk away in anger. She walked away with clarity. Now the narrative has shifted. Cody is telling anyone who will listen that this is manipulation, that Christine is influencing decisions, that David has crossed boundaries. But the truth is far less convenient. Truly has grown up. She's watched. She's listened. She's seen the difference between words and actions. You don't publicly humiliate a child's mother and then expect unquestioned access to that child later. You don't disappear for years and suddenly demand closeness when cameras are ready. Behind the scenes, the consequences were immediate. Filming schedules collapsed. Crews were left waiting. Scenes that existed only in Cody's head vanished overnight. What followed wasn't heartbreak, it was humiliation. Having to explain why the person meant to arrive simply chose not to. And then there's the environment she was expected to return to. The tension inside that Flagstaff house isn't subtle, it's visible. Rules are strict, emotions are controlled, loyalty is constantly measured. Truly values independence. In Utah, she has it. In Flagstaff, she would have been expected to surrender it. The first-class ticket wasn't an act of love. It was evidence of distance, a belief that status could replace effort. But children don't remember how much money was spent. They remember who stayed consistent when no one was watching. And that truth is what makes this situation irreversible. Because once a child learns the difference between presence and performance, there's no going back.
What followed was never going to be quiet. Once it became clear that the summer visit was dead, the reaction inside Flagstaff shifted fast. This was no longer about hurt feelings. It became about damage control, about image, about survival. With the cameras rolling and a storyline collapsing, Cody Brown moved from disappointment to panic. Sources say his tone changed almost overnight. The language of reconciliation was replaced with the language of rights. Suddenly, the conversation wasn't about rebuilding a relationship. It was about entitlement, about what he believed he was owed. Behind closed doors, Cody reportedly began talking about legal options, custodial interference, being kept from his child, framing the refusal as something done to him, not a decision made by her. In his mind, the idea that Truly could independently say no was unacceptable. He needed a villain, and Christine became the easiest target. But dragging this into court would be a catastrophic miscalculation. Truly is no longer a small child whose voice can be dismissed. At her age, her opinion matters, and if she were asked to explain why she didn't want to go, the answers would be devastating. No private space, no emotional safety, a home where cameras matter more than comfort, a place where she feels like a prop, not a priority. Judges, listen to that. Worse still, legal action would open doors Cody should desperately want to keep closed. Finances, living conditions, archived footage, years of documented behavior broadcast to the world. This isn't a fight he can win, but desperation doesn't think strategically. There's also growing tension inside his own household. The refusal didn't just undermine Cody, it cracked the image Robyn relies on, the idea that her home is the center holding the family together. When Truly chose not to come, it sent a message no amount of tears could soften. That house isn't a refuge, it's a fortress, and the other children don't want in. That failure matters to Cody, not just publicly, but privately. It makes him look weak in the one place he cannot afford it. Control is the currency of his world, and he's running out. Production, meanwhile, has no choice but to pivot. With the reconciliation storyline gone, the cameras are now pointed squarely at the fallout, the anger, the blaming, the unraveling. By trying to force a perfect television moment, Cody has guaranteed that the season will capture something far uglier, a man losing authority in real time. And then there's Truly. While adults scramble and narratives shift, she remains untouched by the chaos. No public statements, no online drama, just a teenager choosing a life that feels safe, calm, and real. Somewhere far from Flagstaff, she's building something quietly, a future not shaped by production schedules or emotional debt. The empty seat on that plane has become more than a symbol. It's proof that boundaries work, that silence can be louder than confrontation, that walking away doesn't require permission. Cody may try to retaliate. There may be leaks, accusations, legal threats designed to intimidate rather than protect. But the damage is already done. You can't sue a child into loving you. You can't force connection with paperwork. And you can't undo years of absence with a single plane ticket.
This wasn't just a rejected visit, it was the collapse of an illusion. Cody believed he could buy back relevance, buy back authority, buy back a relationship. Instead, he was handed the consequences of his own choices. The plane left on time, the seat stayed empty, and somewhere else truly chose peace. And that choice changed everything.